Today's stories include Tim's played the PS5 Pro, Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed, and Sucker Punch is planning other spin-offs beyond Ghost of Yotei. We'll have all this and more because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Joining me is the positivity peddler, Parris Lilly. I got him.
I love it. I love that an internet troll made that name. I'm just going to use it forever. Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I mean, a few weeks ago when I was struggling of like, what is the name I'm going to introduce you with? I did get a lot of replies that were like, "Oh, just call him this. This is gonna fit. This is gonna fit." And so yeah. I'm glad you're owning it. I'm glad you're. I don't know if I'd say you're living up to the name, but you are. As far as I understand about you, you are a pretty positive man.
I try to be.
How are you feeling today, Parris?
No, I'm good. Really, it's gonna be some interesting news today. Let's put it that way. So, looking forward to the show.
Hell yeah! You catch the state of play yesterday?
I did.
How'd you like it?
I thought it was okay. It's pretty much what I expected it to be. Obviously, the Ghost announcement at the end was the highlight of that, so I'm pretty pumped about that coming out next year. And I asked myself the question, I said on social media, the Horizon remaster, even though we knew it was coming, to see it at first, I'm like, who is this really for? And I said that on social media, and I saw a lot of people excited about the fact that it was the $10 upgrade. Like, hey, I already own the game. For $10, I can upgrade to this remastered version. So I'm excited to go back and replay it. So I'm like, hey, fair enough. But yeah, it was a solid state of play. I mean, again, nothing earth shattering, but yeah, looking forward to some of the stuff that they revealed.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the Horizon thing is fascinating because I'm in a similar boat of, who is this for? But it's also the same thing that we talked about with Last of Us Part 1, where I'm sure that was being planned to maybe coincide with the TV show, or at least have something on PS5 that for when the TV show eventually comes out, or it doesn't come out, we'll see. But for when it would theoretically get here, those people that are new to it would then be like, oh, I want to play Horizon, where do I start? And then you have a fresh PS5 version ready for you to play. But I'm also a person where I watched the trailer yesterday on the live show. I looked at it and I was like, yo, that looks kind of good. Like, that looks really good, honestly. Like, you forget how much better Horizon Forbidden West looks than Horizon Zero Dawn. But I'm also, last night after everything, I was like, yeah, but I'm not going to replay Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, that's not the kind of game that I'd want to replay. I think it's maybe the difference when, a Last of Us, I'm a bit more willing to replay because it is a lot more linear and cool, 10 to 15 hours of a game I'm down to do. Horizon being like an open world, you're going to do all the side quests, you're going to do all the stuff, right? Like, that's a bit more time consuming in a way where I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to replay Horizon Zero Dawn, at least yet. Maybe I'll get there after a few more years.
So actually, that brings a question. Did you get to play Lego Horizon at Summer Game Fest?
No, Tim did, and Tim really likes it.
Yeah, because I got to play it too. Yeah, I really liked it. And that is a fun retelling of, I almost said Forbidden West, but of Zero Dawn. So I'm actually more excited to play that than I am the remake of it, because I think that's an interesting twist of that original story, leading into Forbidden West. So yeah, I think when does that come out? When do they say, November?
November 14th.
Yeah, November 14th. Definitely keep that on your radar. When I got to play for about an hour at Summer Game Fest, it was a lot of fun. Really liked it.
Dude, I will say the thing that this trailer did, it had not the opposite effect, but a different effect, where when they introduced some of the other PlayStation character skins in this, I was like, oh man, I wish this is just a PlayStation Lego game, like a PlayStation All-Stars Lego game. Granted, we just got Astrobot, so maybe that would kind of conflict a little bit. But yeah, seeing Ratchet, seeing Rivet, seeing Sackboy and these different characters, I'm like, oh, just a straight up PlayStation Lego game might be really fun. But maybe we build to that. Who knows? Yeah,
absolutely. Speaking of Astrobot, because obviously they showed the free DLC that's coming with that. Mm-hmm. Is it just me, or does PlayStation know they have something with that franchise now? It seems like they're really moving forward, really going to start leaning more into Astrobot, to kind of kick off the show with it. It's kind of the mascot character for PlayStation now. And I mean, I've been playing it again, on and off over the past few days. I just love the game. So more Astrobot is definitely a good thing.
I do like how much they're marketing it, right? Like, I think starting it off during this PlayStation State of Play, I think starts them on a strong note of Astrobot is immediately attention catching, and then having that PlayStation Studios logo, and then having the Helldivers 2 characters there to kind of be like, oh shit, we're adding some stuff. I think that's fun, and I think both They know what they got, and they know it's something that is an easy win of getting people in. I love that Bear's bringing in the meme of like Sackboy from Little Big Planet. Is this a Toy Story reference? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a Toy Story thing.
Of like the kid's bedroom being transformed from Little Big Planet into Astrobot stuff. But yeah, I think they know what they have, and they know the charm Astrobot has. The one thing I really hope is that it translates to sales. I'm so concerned about like, all right, we have a good game. We have it at a good price. We have something that is harkening back to all these different PlayStation franchises that a bunch of people love. Will people show up to buy it? People better show up to buy it.
Yeah, they definitely better show up. I completely agree.
All right, Parris, let's get into it. Of course, remember this.
Let's do it.
It's Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and do a daily, and get a daily exclusive show. I try to go off script too much. For a chance to be a part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. Housekeeping for you. We're an 11-person business all about live talk shows. So today, after KFGD, you're going to get our GAMESCAST, which is our Zelda Echoes of Wisdom review. And then after that is the stream, which is going to be more of that Kingdom Hearts 2 with Snowbike Mike. If you're a Kind of Funny member, you can get today's Gregway. Of course, thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining and Carl Jacobs. Today are brought to you by Shady Rays and Hims, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 6 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Hell yeah. Who's that, Barrett?
That was David Mertz and Raz the Cat.
There we go. Shout out to Raz the Cat. Let's start off with story number 1. Parris, me and you are going to take a break from the show because story number 1 is how Tim has played the PS5 Pro. Now, of course, me and you are hosting this episode, Parris. Later on, we're going to talk about things like Assassin's Creed Shadows getting delayed, which is huge news, and more spin-offs for Ghost of Yotei. But here's what happened, right? Tim went to go see the PS5 Pro. Tim, unfortunately, is out today, so he couldn't be here, but we still wanted him to be able to show up today to give his impressions. And so we have a rare pre-recorded segment for KFGD we're going to slip in here. That's going to be our story number 1, Tim's impressions of the PlayStation 5 Pro. So without further ado, here is Tim's preview.
Thank you, future Greg. I hope you've lost some weight. I'm here with past Tim. Tim, you're out of the office today, but you did in today, the real world. In the future, you're out of the office. Today, you were out of the office because you went to see all this PlayStation 5 Pro, all these 30th editions. They bamboozled us.
Yeah.
Because they booked it and it was like, do you want to come see the Pro? And I was like, oh, sure. Not realizing it would be this 30th anniversary. Look at this goddamn beautiful PlayStation Portal.
And
Anyways.
man, that's exactly what it is. It is a goddamn beautiful PlayStation Portal, PlayStation 5 Slim, PlayStation 5 Pro, the DualSense Edge.
Gorgeous.
All of it
Look at
is
you.
gorgeous. Oh my God. They had this amazing room that we got to check out. It was I guess the room wasn't that special if I'm being honest.
It's just their event space room, right? Where they flip
with a bunch of black curtains around.
Yeah.
But the little desk setup they had was gorgeous. The pictures don't do it justice because
not.
they were essentially on these like giant tables that were just glow boxes.
Yeah.
And so they're like the pictures are all incredibly like underlit
Yeah.
in this awkward way. But you can kind of see they on the left side of the whole experience, there was the PS1, you actually had it in front of you, and then just really, really clean, minimalist kind of designs of going through
Love that.
PS1 through 5 on the side with the controllers and stuff. And just, I'm a sucker for timelines. I'm a sucker for the nostalgia of game hardware and all that stuff. So like this was very, very up my alley. Before I get too deep into all this, it was an interesting experience because there was a demo room of playing all the PS5 Pro stuff, and then this was like a separate room that they wouldn't let us go in until after like we played games and stuff first, because they're like, we know you want to see the thing, but like, yeah, we want you to play the games and get the experience first. And I was lucky that I was able to I went to the bathroom at the perfect time so that when I was walking back, they're like, Tim, go in there and take pictures before anyone else does. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna be the first person to see this. That felt good. But I then got some like private time to be able to like really like look at everything and the details of all the 30th anniversary celebration stuff. and I am supremely impressed. Like, you'd expect that. We know how PlayStation does. The PS4 Pro or PS4
20th
anniversary edition, which like that is upsetting to think about. We know how much love and care was put into the packaging of that and the whole thing. So when I saw this morning the press release about this, of course I was excited. Didn't expect to see it today, like you were saying. So that was a extra surprise for me. But looking at the details, Barrett, there's a couple pictures if we can go through them now. Like, that is like engraved, so it's like indented into the cover of the.
If you're an audio listener, we're looking at the shell of, I assume, the Pro, but I think it's on it's Slim as well, and it's the PlayStation logo 30th anniversary. Yes, engraved into the side of it,
and it's just really premium. Like it's a very, 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 very good job. Moving on from that, like just what we're kind of used to from some of the more premium side of the PlayStation products, like the DualSense Edge already has this, the kind of the sacred symbols like indented and to be that kind of texture.
Sure, but this is the 30th with the 3-0, right? That's such a great job they did. When I was looking at it this morning in the press release, like, what? Oh, right, 30th anniversary. I'm an idiot, but it was like such a nice little touch.
And it looks good. It just adds a texture to it, so it's not all just like the exact same. And like up close, it looks great, but even far away, like it just adds that little extra level of like, oh, this is a very expensive product for a reason.
Like 12,300 made.
Yeah, exactly. And then the PlayStation 30th anniversary on the Slim we're looking at here, just like even just the way that it's printed on, like it all just looks. It's very, very, very clean. I love the design of this thing. And seeing the portal, I was like, dude, there's something about the portal that's like extra cool looking.
I don't need another portal, but I want that portal.
The PlayStation logo pops.
Yeah.
The colors of this, they just nailed it. Like, I know everything I'm saying right now, it's like, oh, of course it's premium, of course it's this. It's like, I know, but like there's something special about this. I really love high quality premium tech products. And I feel like the PS5 line, specifically the Edge and like kind of the Pro stuff they've been doing is very, very good. I love my portal, how it feels and how it looks. And seeing this, I'm just like, dang, man. Like, obviously I'm a white and blue guy. So PS5 just nailed my aesthetic and like I don't need any of this stuff. Oh, it's not going to stop me from wanting it. This is literally like, if it was a PS2 color scheme, I might be in trouble. You know what I mean? I might be in trouble. More trouble, because I'm definitely in trouble here. We'll see what I end up getting from this. You know what I mean? I'll tell you this, Greg. The chances of me getting that PS5 Pro, it's not up to whether or not I'm going to get it. It's whether or not I'm able to get it.
You know what I mean? On PlayStation Shop Direct and get in there at times.
But so that was the 30th anniversary stuff. I didn't even get to touch it. We just got to look at it. But I did get to touch the PlayStation 5 Pro.
You touched the Pro and you played the Pro.
I guess technically I didn't touch the Pro. I touched a DualSense, which is just normal DualSense, but I got to play it. Okay. I got to play it, Greg. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And I got to play it in a actually kind of amazing way. There was a bunch of TV setups, but every setup wasn't just one TV. It was two TVs. Two TVs, identical TVs on top of each other, with one of them playing a base PS5, one of them playing a PS5 Pro.
Sure.
Playing the same game. And how our experience went is they would give us kind of a run through about what game we're playing, and like what to kind of look for in what the PSSR is doing for that game
for this game in particular. Okay.
And then they would kind of explain, all right, on the top you have the PS5 Pro, which is running at 4K or upscaled 4K and 60 frames per second. Down here we're in fidelity mode, which is this, or we're in cinematic mode, which is this. Like, every game had different options, and we get asked to switch between them to see the differences between all of them. But while we would play, there'd be a developer with us playing the same game under or over us and try to copy our gameplay.
Sure.
So we can get a good example of like how it actually compares.
Exactly what we talked about on the stream, right? Of like when this got revealed, like this won't work until we see it side by side, until we're actually playing it.
And that's the thing, is like it was such an ideal setup of not just seeing it side by side, but feeling and seeing it side by side at the same time while someone else is playing too, and being able to switch the controllers back and forth, and such an ideal setup. And I know that a lot of people are not going to be surprised that I am sold on the PS5 Pro. I was sold on the PS5 Pro just from when they were talking about announcing
it. So
I
think that's the biggest thing to cut you off.
Yes.
I've let you go long enough. Yeah, you on the stream were very much like, this is a product for me. I have disposable income. I care about this stuff. I want the highest fidelity. Seeing it side by side, because even right now we're watching the trailer or the Cerny presentation, and you can see differences, but does it really matter does it pop that much playing it?
And that's the crazy thing here, is that I walked out of this being like, if I was not sold, this would have sold me. And again, I am somebody that cares about all the little things, and the more you show me, and especially when I'm looking at a side-to-side difference, I'm like, I want the better one. You know, I always want the better. I want the higher numbers and all the things, and that's just the type of person I am. There's a lot of people like me out there that are going to want that, and especially when video games are being designed, like PlayStation 5 games are being made to push the tech forward as much as possible. I want that running on the best tech possible. And I know a lot of people be like, play on PC. And like, yeah, I am not one of those people that's just like, oh, fuck that. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome too. But
you were like, I also play on PC.
But these games don't come out on PC day and dates. You know what I mean? And coming out on a console where it does just work is hopefully the future. And, you know, we just got to be real. Not every game is going to be 4K 60. Like that, the tech's just not there yet. Having said that, I played a lot of games today in 4K 60.
Really?
And I was like, oh my God, like, the future is now. Were some of those games from the past? Sure. Last of Us 2 was the first game that I played. That game was beautiful in 2020. Guess what? It's beautiful in 2024.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more beautiful. Just a little bit more.
Okay.
I'd say Last of Us was probably the least impressive in terms of quality jump.
Way to go, Neil.
But guess what? You're playing cinematic mode in 60 frames per second. That's what we wanted. That's what we're asking for.
Yeah.
So it's like they did the thing. So it really does take the guessing out of it of like, should I do this mode or this mode? Nope. It's best of both worlds mode.
Yeah.
What was really interesting.
How is that presented? Is it called PlayStation 5 Pro mode?
We didn't even get to go into all that stuff. And well, how it's presented is it's kind of up to the devs. Like it's similar to any game now where it's like, does a game have 1 mode, 2 modes, 3 modes, 4 modes? It's up to them. What do they call it? Is it cinematic? Is it fidelity? Like up to them. So I don't think there's going to be a standard. Actually, I know there won't be a standard because jumping around the conversation a bit here, did some Insomniac demos. I did Spider-Man 2 and I did Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. And both were very impressive for very different reasons. Similar reasons as well. But the differences I think are more exciting to me where we are looking at Spider-Man 2. The PS5, we were looking at the performance mode, which is 60 frames per second, which is how you should play Spider-Man 2. And it looks great, but it doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles. It could be better. And seeing it play on PS5 Pro, it's they were telling me like the mode that they are working on currently is to enhance to make it so that essentially it looks like the cinematic mode, fidelity mode, but it is 60 frames per second. But they were saying that, like, well, that's not here yet, and they don't even know that they're going to do this. They could have went the other direction, and still at some point could go the other direction and make it it's still 30 frames per second. But they use the super sampling and all the tech to push the fidelity mode even further. To make it even more impressive looking. So I was interested to hear that because I was like, oh, okay, like that really does mean that it's in the devs' hands to kind of design the experience one way or another. Obviously, I feel like we've gotten the stats now. The majority of gamers want the frame rate more than it to look even more 4K. But like the little things add up. And I think the takeaway I have from the experience overall is it's the little things that add up. To answer your question of, did it like wow me? Like when you play it, you see the difference? The real answer is yes and no. I think it's more in the feel of it all, of it coming together and just knowing that it is the ideal experience to be playing the game. The game that impressed me most was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Really?
We've already seen the Digital Foundry breakdown video that came out yesterday as of recording this. I think it was like a 15-minute video, and like they know what the hell they're talking about, right? From like the actual back end side of it. Whereas like I'm just looking at stuff and I'm like, that looks mushy, that looks pretty.
Yeah.
But I mean, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in performance mode is a mushy ass game. And seeing it on PS5 Pro, it reminded me of the difference of seeing a next gen game.
Really?
When I'm used to a current gen.
So you're
game.
saying I made the right call by not playing yet? I've been holding off, of course. I didn't know why. Turns out psychically I was being guided to the PlayStation 5 Pro mode.
And this is a game, I mean, honestly, like you're going to have an amazing experience. Like I feel like personally, I don't think that even with the mushy graphics and stuff in performance mode, I enjoyed this game in cinematic mode. Like I didn't like how it looked so much in performance that I'm like, I'd rather give up the frames for that game in particular. But to get the best of both worlds, and I played it today, I'm like, holy crap, this is making one of my games of the year. Like it remains that, and like I think that it's going to, for a lot of people that haven't played it, they're gonna have an even better experience if they play it on the PS5 Pro.
Yeah, sure.
In so many ways, like the details of the characters, the hair, just like the leaves and the foliage everywhere. Like, and again, this goes back to it. It's all the little details that add up. I don't think any one of those things is the deal breaker. But the second most impressive game to me was the Crew Motorsport.
The Crew Motorsport?
Wait, that's not what it's called.
No,
The Crew Motorfest.
Okay.
The Crew Motorfest was really impressive. And it's because they were pointing out all the things like, oh, look at the trees here. Look at the sign there, how legible it is compared to the other version. And I was blown away by how you could read every single sign as you're driving down the streets. And it's none of them were blurry. Like, no matter how far they were, no matter how close they were, it was like sharp as a tack. And who cares about that, right? Like, who cares about how blurry or sharp a sign that you're not even looking at as you're driving in your periphery? Like, that doesn't matter.
I would assume you're going to tell me, and I would assume right now, nobody, you're playing the game, blah, blah, but once you see it and you're there, it's more immersive.
It's the fact that it's not just that one sign, it's that every sign. So all of a sudden, everything looks sharp. Everything is way more immersive, and you just can focus on things that matter more. It's very weird because playing a driving game, you really need to know what's ahead, right? Like when to take a turn, like what you prepare yourself, and when things are sharper, it's easier to read. And that sounds so basic and obvious, but like in practice, I was like, yeah, there is a major difference here. Like this affects gameplay. This affects the way I'm experiencing this game. And like, that's all I could really ask for. I didn't expect that. I expected, it's going to look a little better. And I think, Last of Us 2 is a great example of that. It does look a little better. But a lot of the other games, I was like, this is really damn cool.
Question for you, since we are doing this all on the fly. Were there any unreleased games there?
No.
Okay, I didn't know if they had like Assassin's Creed Shadows or anything for you to try.
No, they had Demon Souls, Dragon's Dogma 2, F1, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Gran Turismo 7, which was freaking insane.
I bet, yeah.
Hogwarts Legacy, which was freaking insane. That's another one. The ray tracing in that game, seeing the difference, it was like, oh man, like Hogwarts was looking hot, like stunning stuff. Reminds me a lot of when Andy pulls me over to his desk. He's like, look at this,
RTX on.
RTX on, RTX off, like all that. Like it was very, very impressive. And it felt fun to see PS5 console stuff give me that wow factor that high-end PC stuff does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Spider-Man 2, Horizon Forbidden West, which, oh my God. I mean, we're talking about one of the most beautiful games ever made.
Of course, already gorgeous.
But it's just that little X factor of just like rising, similar to the Crew Motor Fest, where it's like just all the little details add up. No one detail is like that impressive or that noticeable, but all together it really is. And I think that the most important thing takeaway for me was the little things adding up to meaning one big thing. But a couple big things that stood out to me: Spider-Man 2 and Ratchet and Clank. Spider-Man 2, something that really bothered me in the core game is, depending on what mode you're on, there was a lot of like shimmer on things where it's like where things are in the distance, they just look a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They look shiny and a little shaky, and this mode just gets rid of that. And I was able to look at, literally, we went to Times Square and are looking at the exact same billboards. And in the distance on the PS5, it looked jaggy and it looked just, shimmer's the best way I can explain it, but it's like shimmer and shiny and just kind of like noisy, and that's just gone in this. It's just clean as hell. And in Ratchet and Clank, it was like the opening bit of Rift Apart, where you're kind of like jumping on all the floats and the balloons, and there's like confetti everywhere, like you're shooting confetti out of those big cannons, and the amount of confetti was like quadrupled. And what was interesting about it is it wasn't the amount of it; it doesn't dissipate as fast. Like why am I blanking on the word right now? Not parallax. Fantasio has a lot of this stuff, and Final Fantasy 7 has a lot of this stuff. Andy loves it.
Andy!
When there's just a lot of things. There's a lot of things in the sky.
Fusion.
No.
Oh man.
Effects. There's fire. There's flames.
Yeah.
What are the things that you love when there's a lot of it? A lot of water, a lot of fire, a lot of
Particle effects.
Particle effects. Thank you so much.
Real
Andy.
gamer over there,
Thank you
Andy
so
Cortez,
much.
everybody.
God, I don't know why I couldn't pull that one. But the particles don't like kind of like fade out and disappear like we're used to from games. And also, it's a dumb little thing you don't really notice when there's just thousands of pieces of confetti.
Of course.
But when they don't disappear, it looks so much more full. It looks so much more like it's just that little bit of added immersion of the video game thing of, oh, they just disappear. It's like, no, they don't disappear. They're just like constantly floating there. That was like really, really cool. And on top of that, every piece of confetti, sharpest attack. You compare it to the other things,
You can see every
and
piece
it's
of
blurry.
confetti.
And it's like the blurry confetti, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But the sharp confetti, it's a game changer.
All right.
Like that's just the best way I can put it. It's It's the little things add up and make it a game changer. And I would find it hard to believe that anybody that actually sees this stuff side by side isn't like, that is a demonstrable difference. Like $700, a lot of money. I get all that stuff. I don't think that it's necessarily going to change the minds of people that aren't ready to afford that for whatever reason. I get that. But if they're like, oh, I don't think it looks different, they're wrong.
Damn. Well, there you have it, everybody. Of course, the PlayStation 5 Pro comes out November 7th. That is regular base PlayStation 5 Pro, November 7th. The 30th anniversary one is dropping on November. I had it earlier. I lost it. November 21st? November 21st. November 21st. It's November 21st, but I want to see it on the page before I go away from it. Control F. 21. There it is, November 21st.
There it is.
Just
boom.
Like I said, 12,300 of them being made. I do want to know, this is on September 26th.
Mhm.
That is the day pre-orders go live for these units. So this is a time capsule guess of Timothy Geddes.
Yeah.
What are you pricing this package at?
Ooh.
If you don't remember why this would be a question, everybody, the limited edition 30th anniversary PlayStation 5 Pro is the usual PlayStation 5 Pro, 2 terabytes, etc., so on. Comes with a DualSense wireless controller. That's normal, right? That's $700 right there if you were just going to buy that. Then it has this is all in one bundle, a DualSense Edge wireless controller. All this stuff looks like the 30th anniversary stuff, right? So a custom Edge, a regular Edge is $200. Then you have the wireless control stand. Usually that's $30. Then the wireless stand. I said it right. Then you have a console cover for the disc drive, even though the disc drive sold separately. That one, the normal covers are $55. I haven't seen a price off the top of my head for a disc, just the disc drive. So I'm putting that out for your thing. Then it's got the vertical stand, which on its own is $30. And then it's got the collector items of an original PlayStation controller style cable connector housing. That thing looks so fucking cool. 4 PlayStation shaped cable ties.
Less hot.
Yeah, but whatever.
Little
They're tossing
chintzy.
some stuff in there. PlayStation sticker. Then you got the limited edition PlayStation poster, one of 30 possible designs, and then a PlayStation paperclip,
There
which
you
I
go.
think is so ridiculous.
There's your
But
freaking paperclip.
when I added up everything outside of the collector's items, it was at, again, and I'm saying the cover is $55, which it might not be, $1,015.
Yeah. Before you told me that number, I'm bad at math, so I thought it would have been less than 1,000 that it added up to.
Again, the covers might be the wiggle point. I'm not sure how much they're charging.
Either way, my prediction is it is going to be more than $1,000. Like I think
it's
the
$999?
easy answer is $1,000, but like this being a collector's item, like I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 1,200. Like,
Yeah.
and with it being limited, I mean, Sony doesn't normally price gouge things that way when it comes to the collector's items. Like, I don't remember what the PS4 one was,
I
but
don't either. But it also came with the camera. I remember it had a camera. in
yeah,
it, so.
see, they do add things. So I don't know, but I would guess 1,200.
Okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
I want one, Greg. I
I
really
mean, just be
do.
saying, well, I mean, right now, you're not at work because you took the day off just to sit on PlayStationDirect.com or direct.playstation.com or whatever it is. Like I said, pre-orders for that are going live today, September 26th. You can pre-order the console. You can pre-order the remote player. You can pre-order the wireless controller. Then the digital edition pre-orders begin at participating retailers on October 10th. And then the DualSense wireless controller, the 30th anniversary one, just the normal one, pre-orders begin September 26th as well. I don't know why they broke it up that way. It made me look like an idiot the way I read it. Thanks a lot, PlayStation.
It happens, man. So sorry, before we leave, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna try to get?
There's a lot of soul searching that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Okay? Because theoretically, what I want to tell you right now is nothing. I want to tell you I will get none of this. I might allow myself to buy a controller. That's it. Because it's just like, whatever. Like, I think all this is so fucking hot, and I'm so happy with everything I already have. Yeah. I wish I could make a case to buy this remote play, the Portal, because I love my Portal, but I use my Portal all the time, so I don't need another Portal. I was like, I guess I could sell mine to Kevin and buy this one or whatever, but Kevin also wants this one, so Kevin might as well just buy this one. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that whole thing. Again, I didn't see the Pro with my own eyes. I'm not crazy about it. I do expect us to get a Pro review unit in here to see here and try it out and yada, yada. But I also just doubt I'll be rushing out to buy it. But again, maybe it's a whole interesting thing we haven't gone into about this, where it is like, I don't expect us to replace every PlayStation 5 in the office with a PlayStation 5 Pro. So then I really do feel we're going to have a PlayStation 5 Pro bumming around the office for when there's a PlayStation enhanced game to use it. And so in these early days of the Pro, I'm not inclined to run out and buy one because I think we're going to have one here, and I'm the one who usually plays the most PlayStation stuff. So I feel like I could borrow the one we have for review purposes to try these things out. Yeah. I don't know.
You're making sense, Barrett. What about you?
Maybe a controller. We'll see.
The controller?
I am not, like, I do not have the, especially thinking about estimating. Again, we're recording this a week away. Estimating what that price is going to be for the PS5 Pro or even the Slim, that's I'm not in the market.
That's my whole thing, right? Where it's like the $700 PlayStation Pro, right? PlayStation 5 Pro. It's like even that where I'm just like, I do not want to drop $700 right now. So no, I also don't want to drop $1,200 right now or $1,000 right now on this. And especially as much as I used, it's a more enticing offer to me than the PlayStation 4 20th anniversary was, which PlayStation sent us, but I tried to buy originally, I never did. Because, of course, that was just another PlayStation 4. Yeah. The fact that they're timing this out with the Pro is a great move, where it is like, if I was going to, but again, I'm just like, I'm not sitting there and going, I got to have this.
Yeah, the controller is what gets me, just because they've got they brought the colors back for the sacred symbols.
I want the controller, but again, it's that thing like I was saying, I think on Games Daily, where it's just, right now I just use the hot blue and the hot pink. And I have so many other PlayStation controllers that I just don't use.
Here's my thing, though, for me. It's an Edge.
Yeah, you can get the Edge.
I love Edge.
I love Edge. I really do. I love nostalgia. I love Pro. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Good. I'm glad. I want you to get there.
At least I'm hopeful. But
all right, we'll find out, everybody. For now, let's go back to your regularly scheduled in the future Kind of Funny Games Daily. What was that? More layoffs? Oh no!
No layoffs. We're good on the layoffs. We don't have that story. Instead, we do have stories about, oh shit, delays. Oh no. Of course, I want to address a few things. Of course, Greg referred to me as Future Greg in the thing. And the reason why he calls me that is because one day I'm going to take over this company and become the CEO. And so, Barrett, get ready for, you're clapping, Barrett. You're going to be doing a lot of work when I'm on the CEO.
I already do a lot of work as CEO Junior.
You're going to be even doing more work, Barrett.
Oh, no.
All right? You think running the shows is hard when you have to run the shows and be on them at the same fucking time. All right? Gear in. Parris, it's nice to have you back. Of course, Tim, Greg, they be yapping. They're like, we'll do a segment, and then the segment ends up taking up half the show. And then somebody in chat was like, I bet Blessing and Parris are looking at the chat, just disgusted at what people have to say. I'm gonna let them know. I agree. No more Tim. No more Greg. All right? None of them. I don't want to see their faces anymore for the remainder of this episode, especially Tim. All right? So we're going to get to ads, and then we're going to come back. Are you telling... Oh, shoot. Turns out Tim is doing the ads, too. Let me talk about patreon.com/kindoffunny, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Over there, you can get the Kind of Funny membership, which allows you to get shows ad-free. And speaking of ads, let Tim tell you about our sponsors.
This episode's brought to you by Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends over at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as any expensive pair that we've worn. Durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures. With an extensive array of styles and colors, you're bound to find the perfect pair of Shady Rays sunglasses. Y'all know I've been outside a lot in the sun playing some Pokemon Go, and it's such a great experience wearing my Shady Rays when I'm out and about looking dope. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal. Head to shadyrays.com and use code KINDOFFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. You can try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. shadyrays.com, use code KINDOFFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. This episode is brought to you by Hims. guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we'll always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims has treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing access to affordable sexual health treatments, all from the comfort of your couch. No insurance is needed. Pay one low price for your treatments, online visits, ongoing shipments, and provider messaging. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/kindafunny. That's HIMS.com/kindafunny for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/kindafunny. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions, details, and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
And we're back. And before we talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows, Parris, you had some thoughts on the PS5 Pro.
Yeah, just super quick. Listening to everything that Tim and Greg talked about, I've been waffling back and forth since they announced the Pro and all this 30th anniversary stuff. And I've come down to this. I don't need and or want the 30th anniversary stuff. I get the nostalgia of it. I get everybody's excited for it, but I don't want to be a hoarder and get things that I'm not going to use. Yeah. So I don't need the 30th anniversary stuff, as cool as it may be, but I do want a Pro. I've come to that realization. I do want to get a Pro. I don't know if I'll necessarily get one at launch or get one to review or whatever, but I definitely can see me by the end of this year probably obtaining a Pro. So nice. I like having the fact that I can have all of that in my living room and not just on my PC in the office as far as the 60 frames and all the visual fidelity. So I do think I'll get a Pro.
I will say what Tim was talking about with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in particular had me kind of hyped. I'm not really in the market for a PS5 Pro, like as far as not feeling satisfied with what I'm getting out of the PlayStation 5 base one already. And the thing for me and this is a me thing of how I play games, I'm playing games mostly off of like a PC monitor. Like when I'm at home, my PS5 is set up at my desk with a monitor. And even when I'm playing here, I'm playing at my monitor at my desk at work. And so like, I'm not, playing off of my 4K TV. And so I don't think I'm getting all the benefits. So I feel like a PS5 Pro would probably be wasted on me. Excuse me. That said, I do like the idea of performance and fidelity at the same time. I don't know if I'm paying $700 for it, but that's me.
Yeah, that's the kicker on it. But I know me. I just bought an iPhone 16, so I can't sit here and say I'm not. Yeah. So when I didn't need one, so I'll probably wind up getting one.
Let's talk about story number 2. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed to February 2025. This is Wesley Inpool at IGN. Ubisoft has delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows by 3 months. The open-world adventure game was due out November 12th, 2024. It now launches February 14th, 2025. In a statement, Ubisoft said it needs more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features. Meanwhile, Ubisoft confirmed that Assassin's Creed Shadows will release on Steam, unlike the company's previous major release, Star Wars Outlaws. Pre-orders will be refunded, and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. In a note to the investment community, Ubisoft said that while Assassin's Creed Shadows was feature complete, the learnings from the release of Star Wars Outlaws led us to provide additional time to further polish the title. Star Wars Outlaws had a softer than expected launch, Ubisoft said. So we got a few stories in one here, the big headline here being that Assassin's Creed Shadows is being delayed to February 2025. Parris, what do you think about that?
I'm not surprised. Obviously, we heard rumblings earlier in the week about the preview event being delayed. And as soon as I heard that, I go, then they're probably going to delay the game itself. So seeing this news come out that it was delayed to February isn't shocking to me. And I always just take the stance with delays. If you need more time to make the best game that you can, take more time to make the best game that you can. So, I mean, we'll see it in February.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always of the same mind, right? Like, you delay the game if it's going to make it better. Take your time with it. You don't want to release something that's going to have a fucked up launch or is going to have all these bugs at launch, is going to have all these issues. We've seen how many times that is like tainted launches of otherwise like pretty good games. You know, when you're playing something that is, oh no, I like this or I'm enjoying this, but I'm being hindered because the performance is bad or because there's a game-breaking bug that's going to break my save and all these things. We've seen that happen. I believe we saw that happen with Star Wars Outlaws even, where people who got the game before a certain point like were advised to restart their save and update because of some game-breaking bug, right? That they're at risk of. That type of shit you don't want to happen, especially for a launch of something that is going to be one of your main titles, right? When you're talking about Ubisoft, you're talking about Assassin's Creed being usually the main launch year to year. And especially this year, coming off of Star Wars Outlaws, which I would say is the other main launch for Ubisoft, you had some of those issues already. You want to avoid those going into the next one. Some context I want to bring in here. I believe Barrett added this to the doc as we were going. And this is one that I saw this morning, but it's kind of context to this Assassin's Creed story, which is why I'm keeping it in here. I want to put an article from Insider Gaming written by Mike Straw about how Star Wars Outlaws underperformed, and that Ubisoft has confirmed. Ubisoft has officially confirmed that Star Wars Outlaws underperformed internal expectations. The revelation came via a financial targets update from the company on Wednesday. In a release and subsequent conference call, Ubisoft said that the game's release was softer than expected. That's despite what they called solid ratings. Quote, additionally, despite solid ratings, a Metacritic of 76, and user scores across the first-party and Epic stores, 3.9 out of 5, that reflect an immersive and authentic Star Wars universe, Star Wars Outlaws' initial sales provided softer than expected, Ubisoft said. In response to player feedback, Ubisoft development teams are currently fully mobilized to swiftly implement a series of updates to polish and improve the player experience in order to engage a large audience during the holiday season to position Star Wars Outlaws as a strong long-term performer, end quote. Parris, where are you at with Star Wars Outlaws?
I thought it was just okay. I probably fell in the 7 out of 10 range on it. Unfortunately, I mean, I was watching a review you guys did, so I know it was a little harsher than I was. But part of it was some of the technical issues that it had at launch, and you know, the whole stealth mechanic, and there was just other things where I think if this game had more time in the oven to cook a little more, they could have refined some of this stuff, and it could have had a better launch. And unfortunately, hearing that they're having lower sales than expected, I'm not surprised considering the state that the game was in at launch. Will it improve over time? I'm sure it will, but it's just an unfortunate, after effect of that, which probably plays into the fact why they're delaying Assassin's Creed Shadows to make sure that they get it right when it comes out. So bummer, unfortunately, especially coming from Massive, but again, not too surprised.
Barrett, what's up?
I'm worried, man. I'm worried about Ubisoft a little bit here. With Outlaws and then with Assassin's Creed being the two big pillars for their year. Obviously, Prince of Persia was a hit. I don't know sales-wise, like how much the
sales-wise, I don't think it was as much of a hit.
Yeah,
I forget if they had that official. Yeah.
So I worry for Ubisoft because they've had like a very dry few years. There's a couple of years where we're just like, when are they releasing games? Like for the longest time, all they had was like Mario and Rabbids 2, which was so bewildering. And then you get to these two big games finally coming out within the same year, Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. You have Outlaws underperforming, and then you have Shadows being delayed until next year to February, literally the day after Ghost of Yotei gets announced for 2025.
Barry, you're stepping on my talking points. I'm gonna let you finish.
Let me finish here, and I know this is a super chat, but this is just something that I'm thinking about, and I'm just like kind of worried about. Is like, do you think people are gonna get fatigued with like open world Japan game? Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so, because I don't think people are gonna play Shadows now because they're just gonna be like, well, I know I like Ghost, and like Assassin's Creed I'm not as into, so I'm just going to wait for Ghost.
Samson L writes in with a super chat and says, Ghost of Yotei and Assassin's Creed Shadows, both in 1 year. Will we get open world Japan game fatigue? I think it's a fascinating question. I don't think them being in the same year is the problem as far as the like feudal Japan samurai style game fatigue of it. I think maybe there's worries there as far as like, when it comes to award season in 2025, will people care anymore about Assassin's Creed Shadows when they just got Ghost of Yotei? I think that might be a bit of concern. I do think, though, that like we have gotten a lot of games in this setting in the last couple years, especially by the time we get to the end of 2025 when we have both these games out. I even bring in Rise of the Ronin into the equation, where already this year you had Rise of the Ronin and Assassin's Creed Shadows, right, which are competing in the same sort of like genre of video game. Next year, you're still going to have those two samurai games come out. I don't know. Like, Paris, for you, do you feel or do you see any sort of fatigue with this style of game?
Yes and no. I think yes, in the Ubisoft style of these open world games, I definitely think there's been some fatigue with that. I think to the point about bringing in with Sucker Punch with Ghost, will that have an effect? Honestly, that game's probably a year away, right? We're probably not going to see it, until next holiday. I think the anticipation for that is way higher as the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, that people genuinely are going to want to go play that regardless if an Assassin's Creed came out earlier that year. So no, I don't think the two would correlate.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think Ghost of Tsushima has such a fan base to it and had such fervor behind it that I think anybody that played Ghost of Tsushima and loved it, they're going to show up for Ghost of Yotei. And I think probably same with Assassin's Creed to some extent. Assassin's Creed, I think just by IP power has a built-in audience that's going to show up game to game. But I do think that, to your point, Paris, what's maybe working against it might be more so Ubisoft fatigue. And I think that's what works against even Star Wars Outlaws here, where I think the state of the launch of Star Wars Outlaws, I'm sure, had maybe a little bit to do with how it performed sales wise. But I think even if Star Wars Outlaws came out as a fully polished game and didn't have any bugs or didn't have any performance issues, I still think you would be in the same place as Ubisoft as far as Star Wars Outlaws not living up to the same sales expectations, because I think Ubisoft is a publisher that almost feels to me like is caught in like a 2010 early 2010s era
They are.
State of game development, where I look at Star Wars Outlaws or I look at Assassin's Creed Shadows and I see games that I feel like could have came out 10 years ago, right? And like I think we've gotten so many games that have pushed that genre of open world games forward so much. You're talking about, years after Elden Ring took over the world. We're talking about years and years after now Breath of the Wild took over, and we've had The Witcher 3. We've had even Cyberpunk has built itself back up from launching in a bad state, but being in a place now where you play that game as an open world game. Cyberpunk 2077, pretty fantastic open world video game. And that's not to say that Assassin's Creed hasn't grown, because we have seen it grow. We saw the jump they had with Origins. We've seen them expand and do different things with Assassin's Creed. But I still think at its core, there is a gameplay style and there is a level of budget and polish that is very Ubisoft, which has turned into sort of a bad word now when you talk about Ubisoft games. And I think that's where I come around to where Barrett's at as far as like the worry when it comes to where Ubisoft is I think Ubisoft is in need of some kind of jump, some kind of bigger shift than what we've been seeing.
Well, here's a crazy thing with Ubisoft, just on that point, I know we'll move on, is I'm worried too. And part of it is they have IPs. They have compelling IPs that I want to play. I jokingly say it once a year, and they just did it again when Netflix showed the Splinter Cell anime that's coming out. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Ubisoft, just give me a Splinter Cell. That it's been on the shelf for so long. Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's a freaking unicorn at this point. It's a myth. It's not even going to happen. They obviously have Rainbow Six. They have Ghost Recon. They have IPs that are compelling, but they've just not used them in a very smart way to get consumers excited about it. Instead, we're getting things that feel very cookie cutter from them, and it just doesn't land. Obviously, they tried, what was it? I won't say Hyperspace. It's wrong, but the Hyperscape, thank you. They tried that. Obviously, X-Defiant, your mileage varies on that. They're trying things, but nothing seems to be hitting, sticking the landing, so to speak. They were going to spin off the Division and Heartland. They canceled that. So where we are with the Division 3, again, they have the IPs. I don't even think that's the issue with Ubisoft. It's just how they're utilizing them seems to be the problem, which I think, again, goes back to this delay with Shadows. They cannot screw this up. And I think they know that. They need to make sure that this is the typical franchise high-selling Assassin's Creed that we come to expect, and anything short of that could put the company at risk, in my personal opinion. And it's crazy, like when you talk about Prince of Persia, when I think about my short list right now, Game of the Year, that's one they did do right.
Yeah,
I think it's great, but nobody played it.
Yeah,
unfortunately. So yeah, they got to do some soul searching, and they got to figure out how to utilize this roster of franchises that they currently have, and get them in front of customers to get them excited.
I think to some extent they're in between a rock and a hard place, because you talk about them having the IPs, and I think you're absolutely right. I would compare it to how people talk about PlayStation, or how people have been talking about PlayStation recently, when there was the whole statement about like one of the higher ups of PlayStation, being like, we want to have these IPs that sell and that do these things. And a lot of people were like, what about all these IPs that you haven't been touching? But you look at that list of IPs, and listen, I'm right there with people. I want a new Dark Cloud. I want a Dark Cloud revival.
Yeah.
But you put out a new Dark Cloud's not going to sell. A fucking I had a game. What was the Arc the Lad isn't gonna fucking sell out here. Brave Fancy Musashi ain't doing shit, right? Like, these games, as much as I would love for us to get back to a Siphon Filter or bring back SOCOM and bring back all these IPs that people love, there is I think an element to it where you bring back these games and they're not going to do Horizon numbers. And I know people hate to hear that, but they're not going to do Horizon numbers. Right. They're not going to do Ghost numbers. They're not going to do Spider-Man numbers. They're not going to do God of War numbers. They're not going to do Last of Us numbers. There's a reason why PlayStation's trying to develop more of those and touch less of like their legacy IP. And it breaks my heart. But when I look at the Ubisoft side of things, I think the rock and the hard place that they're in is that they don't have Horizon and God of War and Last of Us and all these things. They have Assassin's Creed, but I worry about the staying power now of Assassin's Creed. I think you have that built-in audience, you have the legacy, you have all this stuff, but when we get new Assassin's Creed games, how much are they selling now compared to the last Assassin's Creed? Are they going to be able to keep that upward trajectory? You've had Just Dance, which has been a yearly installment of a very highly selling franchise. Just Dance, I don't know if Just Dance is, again, having an upward trajectory. I would assume that Just Dance is probably having a downward trajectory. Barrett, what's up?
It's weird just looking back at the past few years, because we're also in a weird and unprecedented time for Assassin's Creed. I know Mirage came out, but let's understand that Mirage was originally planned as DLC, that then they made into a slightly bigger thing to make it its own standalone game. So taking Mirage out of the picture, by the time we get to Shadows, it'll been roughly 4.5 years since like the last major Assassin's Creed has come out. Valhalla did sell over $1 billion. I don't know how many copies it sold, but like that was a moneymaker. Mirage, not so much. But again, that's a weird one where it was like, and even more interesting because I feel like it had the marketing behind it of like, this is an old school type of an Assassin's Creed game.
For sure. We knew that was going to be a smaller scale game.
Show up for that, So it's interesting because, Valhalla sold so well and did a lot. And I know a lot of that's going to be microtransactions and all the DLC that came with Valhalla backing that $1 billion mark or whatever. But the kind of like, when people think back to Valhalla, they don't love it. Or whenever I see people talk about Valhalla. I
don't hear people talk about Valhalla with the same reference as Odyssey or Origins.
Well, and they don't talk about it with the same reference as I talk about Valhalla, because I think Valhalla kicks so much ass. And so I don't know, when people think about the last Assassin's Creed game, are they going to be inspired to actually show up for the next one?
Yeah.
To everything that you're saying, this is supposed to be the one. What if people always wanted them to do with Assassin's Creed? Go to Japan. This is supposed to be
to the punch? Who essentially made a Ubisoft game in Japan, and just with just tweaking some things and like a new coat of paint to not make it look like or feel exactly like a Ubisoft game, but essentially like an open world kind of thing that feels similarly structured, and made it artsy as hell. Fucking Ghost. And what's coming out next year? Ghost 2!
And here's the thing, right? Because at some point, like, I've pitched it to Greg, and Greg already had the idea and put it on the
fans have been asking for Assassin's Creed Japan for 14 years. Why did it take them so fucking long?
We need to have a conversation about 2025 and just overall. Because Noble had tweeted like a list of the games that are coming out in 2025, and it is a crazy list so far. And even just in early 2025, it is a crazy list so far. And part of me and Barrett have had a bet of if me and Andy are going to play through Assassin's Creed Shadows and be committed to it. Barrett, part of like why I've been so confident in this bet is that you look at November, and November is pretty free. Like a lot of my bet was hinging on that game coming out in November. Assassin's Creed coming out
But
in
in
February?
November, you need to finish Persona 3 Reload as well. You know?
Yeah, but I have like what 10 hours, 15 hours,
Yeah, you're so close.
80 hours. I don't know. But yeah, like Assassin, I've not checked the calendar yet, and sadly, Game Informer's gone, so I can't just open up the Game Informer calendar anymore. But when is Monster Hunter Wilds out?
February.
When is Avowed out?
February.
Like, what the fuck are we
day.
doing here?
Same day as Assassin's Creed, by the way.
What are we doing here? We're not setting these games up for success. And
Well,
yeah, go for it.
If I could just pause on that one, just as we're talking about that, if I'm Microsoft, if I'm Xbox, I'm having a conversation about, do we move Avowed a few weeks, either forward or back? I don't think they should come out in that window, being a new IP, because allegedly that was the whole reason they were moving out of November in the first place, right? So you're right back to that same problem again.
Yeah, I think if I'm Microsoft and I see Avowed and Assassin's Creed coming out the same day, and there's a conversation of which one has to move, like Avowed is the one. I think Avowed is the one that you delay and get out the way of Assassin's Creed. I want to bring in a super chat from Nolan Massey Media, who says, "What do you all think about Avowed and Monster Hunter Wilds coming out within 10 days of each other? I'm worried for Avowed now. Thanks for all you do." And we kind of just answered that a little bit, but I'm with you, Parris. I think Avowed needs to get out of there.
And let's not forget, Yakuza and Civ 7 are also coming out around that time too.
See, again, I've not pulled up the calendar,
insane.
but even without knowledge of it, even without a calendar in front of me, I know for a fact that January, February right now is looking stacked for video games.
Yeah.
But all that to say is, yes, Barrett, I worry about Ubisoft too, not even just in the context solely of the Samurai shit or even just the Ubisoft ass game, just the entire ecosystem of Ubisoft and like where Assassin's Creed Shadows right now is landing. I'm like,
I think Parris said, I think they need this game to do really, really well.
yes,
And I
think
don't
so too.
know, with all of the different things that have happened, to line this up for this game to come out in February 2025 in the same year as Ghost 2, 5 years after, or 4.5 years after Valhalla. Like, I don't know if it's being set up well enough to do as well as Ubisoft needs it to do for them to still be what we know them as.
Well, I think a couple things that came out of this announcement goes to what you're saying, Barrett. I think they realize that, and they're trying to do everything possible to get people excited to pick it up day one. Putting it on Steam is huge. Yes, absolutely. Put it there. And then they're not. So if I'm understanding it correctly, and I have it in front of me, so they're not necessarily getting rid of the season pass, but they basically said, now you get the expansion for free and everything's available to everyone day one. Something like that.
I think the first part of it you're getting for free.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
So they're trying to set it up to make it more consumer friendly for sure.
Yeah. And so loop back on the point I was making earlier about like Ubisoft and like kind of operating in an early 2020s era thing. Earlier there was a chat that was like, so they need to release new games, which is part of where I'm getting to, but it also comes back to my argument of the worry about Ubisoft is that they have been releasing new games. They've just not been hitting, right? They had Rainbow Six Extraction that came and went. They had Roller Champions that came for like 2 days and went. And I played it. I liked it, but people weren't playing it. They had the Marvel game that like Mike brought up that came out in like May that we were surprised. Yeah, Barrett has that look of bewilderment.
They had a Marvel game?
It was Marvel, not Marvel. Like,
Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the Marvel game.
Yeah, like the competitive Marvel
They had
game.
Mario plus Rabbids, a sequel to a game that like was very beloved.
To a game that did great.
And people talked about it for half a day.
Yes, and they had, and again, they had a critical hit in Prince of Persia, but Prince of Persia, sales-wise, is not doing what Ubisoft needs it to do to be like, all right, we're back in this. We're still fucking back. We're Ubisoft. We're going to put up, I don't know, man. I think that company needs a bit of a redefinition or like some kind of thing. Maybe we just need to get to Splinter Cell. Maybe we just need to get to, I forget what other big game, Beyond Good and Evil 2. I don't know.
I didn't realize that the new Yakuza game is literally called Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Oh yeah,
that's the name.
Oh yeah,
that's the name.
They don't care.
That's
They're
not just like
it.
the project name. That's the name they're releasing the game.
Well, Barrett, think about it this way: how else would you know that it's a Like a Dragon game that takes place in Hawaii and has pirates and is also Yakuza? In case you forgot about Yakuza. There's only one thing to name it
here, man.
What do you want them to name it? Like a Dragon 9? Like, get real, Barrett. Let's move on to story number 3. Sucker Punch is planning other spin-offs beyond Ghost of Yotei. This is Jordan Midler at Video Games Chronicle. Sucker Punch is planning other spin-offs beyond its newly announced Ghost of Tsushima follow-up, Ghost of Yotei. That's according to a New York Times interview with Ghost of Yotei creative directors Nate Fox and Jason Connell. The pair, who will once again serve as creative directors on the project, spoke to the publication about the newly announced game, which is set 300 years after Ghost of Tsushima. The article also notes that the announcement of Ghost of Yotei retrospectively changes Ghost of Tsushima from a standalone game to the start of a franchise, which it says will include at least one movie and other spin-offs, end quote. We know that a Ghost of Tsushima movie is currently in the works and will be directed by Chad Stahelski, who did John Wick Chapter 4. I'm going to end the article there. But Parris, is the idea of Ghost of Tsushima / Yotei now expanding even more with more spin-offs? Does that excite you?
Hell yeah. I saw that and I was like, do it, please. I'm very excited to do that. Expand that universe out. That way, because, some people are complaining already about we're not going back to the main character. You get to introduce new characters and bring back legacy characters and other type of content. So yeah, absolutely. Do it.
Yeah. I'm very excited about how they're building this out. There's a super chat that we had come in. I want to find it because it very much speaks to my heart. CJ Splitzen writes in and says, will we be getting Legends in Ghosts of Yotei? I'm going to say no. I think that was a lot of work for not enough people showing up to play it. And I was thinking about this yesterday after we got the announcement, right? Of how much I love Ghost of Tsushima Legends, how much fun I had during that raid when you get to the end of Ghost of Tsushima Legends. It's so fucking good. And I'm like, I don't know how many people played that raid. I wonder I wonder what the exact number is of people who completed that raid. And I wonder if it's maybe just in the tens of thousands for the millions of people that have this game.
Yeah, it probably wasn't a lot.
And I think if you bring back Legends, I don't think you should put it in Yotei. I think you should make it its own standalone thing, right? I think that's the way to market it. And I think there's so much you can do with it. Legends for a mode that was a free update was built out in a way that you could monetize it. You could add skins. You could do more collaborations. They already had collaborations in Legends with a Shadow of the Colossus type outfit and other outfits that reference other Sony games. There's a lot you can do with that, and I hope they have that in the works. Sucker Punch I know isn't a huge studio, but I would love to see something like that in other spinoffs.
The way I look at it is like this is very similar to what Insomniac is doing with Spider-Man right now. I mean, you had Miles Morales. You spun off Miles into his own thing. Miles can now stand on his own if you need him to be, but you can always go back to the legacy Peter Parker main franchise if you so choose, right? So do the same thing with Ghost. I'm completely fine with that. I think that could totally work for them.
Who's the character in Tsushima? Man, I'm trying to pull from my memory 4 years ago. She was one of the characters that you did side quests with, and she was like a fucking killer. It was like Lady something, right?
Yeah, and it's crap. I'm blanking.
Was it Lady Moscow?
Yeah, I think it was Moscow. I think so. I think the chat's saying that too.
Lady Moscow? Give me a Lady Moscow spin-off game where I'm just fucking tearing people apart. Because I remember loving her side quests.
Yeah.
I think there's so many. I would love to see them continue this of, hey, here's another Ghost game and it's a new character. And I said this yesterday during the reaction GAMESCAST that I think that makes it so that when you eventually return to these characters, guess what? That's fucking hype. When you make Ghost of Tsushima 2, that gets fucking hype, dude.
Yes.
Let's talk about story number 4. Palworld's PS5 release held up in Japan amid Nintendo Pokémon lawsuit. This is Tom Ivan at VGC. Pocket Pair has confirmed that the plans to release Palworld for PS5 in Japan are on hold. In a surprise announcement during a PlayStation State of Play presentation on Tuesday, it was revealed that the game had been released for PS5. They put out a statement saying, quote, as announced on official PlayStation State of Play, the PS5 version of Palworld was released today in 68 countries and regions worldwide. The release date for Japan has not yet been determined. We are very sorry, excuse me, for the Japanese people who have been looking forward to the release of Palworld, but we'll do our best to deliver the game to all the PS5 users as soon as possible. We hope you will continue to enjoy Palworld in the future, end quote. That was tweeted out on Palworld's Japanese Twitter account and translated via machine translation. Yeah, I was wondering about this. I think I was not surprised at the announcement yesterday, but I think a little bit wondering if we could have gotten this announcement based on the situation with Nintendo. And so to see it held up in Japan, I'm like, okay, there's the catch.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Story number 5. We got launch details for a cheaper MetaQuest 3. They've seemingly been leaked. This is Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle. Launch details for a more affordable MetaQuest 3 headset have been seemingly leaked ahead of an imminent reveal. According to data miner Bill Kuhn, who has a long track record of leaking new games and hardware prior to their official announcement, the new headset would appear to be called the MetaQuest 3S. Writing on Deal Labs, they claimed it's likely to be announced at MetaConnect 2024 and will reportedly launch worldwide October 15th. The MetaQuest 3S prices are expected to start at $299.99 for a 128 gigabyte headset, with a 256 gigabyte model costing $400. Parris.
Just got announced.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw it.
Awesome. So put up this trailer, full screen it, because I want to watch this as we go through, because I do want to see the details of it. Because my question is, how are they getting this price down? What am I sacrificing off of my
lens? The lens. I read that it's using a lesser quality lens, so the fidelity won't be as good.
Okay. Is that the main thing? I assume that's the main thing.
Yeah, that seems to be the main thing from what I read.
Parris, good idea to you?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I have the MetaQuest 3 now. I still use it. My son actually uses it way more than I do. But to have a cheaper one to make it more consumer friendly to get people into VR, is never a bad thing. So probably a smart move.
Yeah. I was surprised by how much the MetaQuest 3 already costed. Because it's $500 for the 128 gigabyte headset, and then $650 for the 512 gigabyte model. I didn't know we got that high with the MetaQuest.
Yeah.
Because I always looked at the MetaQuest as like, oh, this is such the affordable option. I didn't realize that the prices were going up like that, and so I think a 3S option is good, so you can get down to that $300. But Parris, new prices, a new model for a MetaQuest 3. That's big news right there. What if I wanted something smaller? Say the tiniest news I needed to know about. Where would I go?
You'd go to our last story, the Wii News channel, where we cover all the small news items you need to know about.
That's right. Story number 6. We got Wii News. We got an Xbox September update from Xbox Wire. A Game Bar compact mode is now available for all PC players on Windows. You got more game management options coming your way via the Xbox app on PC. They are shutting down the mobile Game Pass app and including it in the main Xbox mobile app. That's a new big update. And then also you can pre-download your games and start playing when the update is live. And lastly, you got new wishlist notifications for free play days and more. The Metaphor ReFantasio Prologue demo is available on Xbox Series X and S, Windows PC, PS4, PS5, and Steam. Save data will convert over to the full game upon release on October 11th. I love when games do this.
Smart, love that.
Star Wars Outlaws is coming to Steam on November 21st. Backyard Baseball 97 launches on October 10th on PC. And then finally, Crypt Master is coming to Xbox and PS4 and 5 on October 3rd. Crypt Master is a fantastic time. It's the dungeon crawling game that me and Greg talked about quite a few months ago now, where you battle and like do everything by typing in your keyboard. You have to like type words out and like guess words. It's a very, very fun game. I do wonder how that's going to work on PlayStation and Xbox, though, if you're playing on controller. That doesn't sound right, but I'm curious to see how they do it. It's a very exciting release. And that's it for Wii News.
Awesome.
Before we get out of here, I want to bring in some super chats for you. Dear Sixlit writes in and says, "Bless, you and me are the Dark Cloud sickos. I'll win the Powerball and finance Dark Cloud 3 myself if Level 5 and Sony aren't going to do it." Listen, if they can bring back Freedom Wars, we can bring back Dark Cloud. That's what I'll say. Dean8149 says, "Is Assassin's Creed Infinity supposed to launch with Assassin's Creed Shadows?"
As far as we know, yes.
What does that look like? We ask this every single time, but I'm still
don't know. But they haven't officially said that like they're not doing it anymore. It's so insane.
I just hope it's not like the Call of Duty launcher where I had to launch it.
That's literally what it is.
I don't want to launch an app to launch an app on my PlayStation console, bro. Let's not do this. Let's just give up on it.
I'll show you what it'll look like. Hold on. Let's see. What Assassin's Creed game was it? I think it was Assassin's Creed. Chat, let me know. Unity was the French one, right?
Unity was the French one.
Yeah,
French one, yes.
All right, hold on. I'll show you what the Assassin's Creed launcher is going to look like.
as we do that, I want to shout out SD Turtle, also super chatted and says, Metaphor demo is out now. I'm sure Barrett is leading that review. Please, no spoilers. Excited to hear what you think. Of course, if we were reviewing Metaphor ReFantasio, of course we wouldn't spoil it, because guess what? That would break embargo. We get in a lot of trouble. But it's very exciting, though, that the demo is out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such a smart decision for them to put out a demo and have that carry over. I think with this being a new IP, they need to do anything they can for it to be as successful as it can possibly be.
Yeah. I like to imagine Barrett's in Photoshop right now, whipping together what.
No, I'm trying to find this cutscene
finished.
from Unity. Hold on, here, I found it. This is the beginning of Assassin's Creed Unity, and this was like an in-universe like streaming service that you'd use the Animus technology to experience like past kind of sequences. Oh, it doesn't show up the menu because it's not a cutscene. But anyway, like it would load up that thing, and then you would be able to select all of these different experiences. You could really only select one because it was telling like a story or whatever. But that's what that's going to look like.
Nice. Let's hop into kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. Rewrite and let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong, so we can correct it for those watching later on YouTube and listening later on podcast services around the globe. We only have one here from Kebabs, who writes in and says, "You're wronging past him. The standard DualSense also has the symbols texture on the handles. I hope present Tim is better." And that's it for you. Parris, me and you, flawless.
As always.
Parris, always love doing the show with you.
Yep. We'll do it again later this week.
Yeah, we
Looking
are.
forward to it.
We'll be back at it like a bad habit. Of course, this has been Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. Enjoy the GamesCast next, which will be our Zelda Echoes of Wisdom review, and our stream after, which is going to be, you'll have to tune in to find out.
Kingdom Hearts.
It's going to be Kingdom Hearts 2 with Mike. But until next time, Game Daily.